Well, welcome back to our class on organizational behavior. In an earlier lecture, I talked about creativity. Now I want to talk about a related topic, innovation. In fact, if you take a look at our textbook, it combines the two, creativity and innovation. And maybe one of the first questions that I have for you is there a difference? Is there a difference between being creative and being innovative? Are they two different things? Are they one and the same? Are they related? Is there an overlap? You probably want to take a look at that. Let's make the assumption that there is somewhat of a difference between the two. And you can take a look at my prior lecture on what is creativity. And now let's take a look at this concept of innovation. And under innovation, I really only have two major topics I want to talk about. The first is kind of give you a definition, maybe show you a little bit how this differs from creativity. And then I want to talk about some approaches, some models and whatever that people use. Let me first define it the way the textbook defines it. You may define it differently. I know that when I come up and think of the word innovation, I don't necessarily use this phrase, but this will work. The textbook defines innovation as a creation of something new that makes or saves money. The creation of something new that makes or saves money. I'd like to change that a little bit from money to makes or saves value. Makes or saves value. I can do something that's creative that may not necessarily make me any money, but it's going to create value. For example, I can do something creative that will perhaps motivate my employees more in the workplace. Maybe the bottom line, eventually I make some more money, but really the initial thing I'm doing is I'm trying to be more motivational. I'm trying to create a better working environment. It's not necessarily, at least initially, money. It might indirectly lead to it. So again, although the textbook says makes or creates money, I think we should substitute the word value for money. There are other things that are valuable related to business as well as to life that aren't money. So I would suggest that you take a look at that. Now, another question I have for you, still in this definition. Can you think of any business today that can't be successful without being more innovative? I guess it depends on the innovation. But in this day and age, isn't innovation required? It used to be perhaps that the world was simpler, that the problems that you ran into in the office, today's problems were the same problems we had yesterday, which were the same problems they had the day before. But today, society is changing so much, so fast. I'm not so sure that yesterday's answers help today's problems. So when you have to come up with solutions for new problems, problems that you didn't think about before, problems that the tools that you had and the resources you had before don't quite fit today, don't you have to be innovative and figure out a way to solve the problem using what we can from the past and also creating some new things for today? So really this concept of innovation, I think, is one of the keys to success today. I'm sure there might be some businesses out there that don't have to be innovative, but my guess is most businesses, to be successful, have to be innovative. So along that line, another question I ask for is still in this introduction. Do you have to be innovative? If your business does, I would think that you do. Because you're probably either a leader or a manager, maybe even the owner of the business, probably more so for you than anybody else in the organization, or almost anybody else in the organization, you probably need to be innovative. And you can think of different ways that maybe you can become more innovative, come up and start seeing things outside the box, coming up with new ideas. But don't you also think that your business isn't just relying on you? It's relying on others. You might have employees that report to you. You might have others in the organization who don't report to you, but they're part of this organization. Don't they need to be creative? And even some of the people you deal with on the outside, don't they have to be creative? For example, if you're dealing with your business attorney, doesn't he or she or don't they have to be creative? Don't the laws change all the time? And when we talk about being creative, are we now also talking about being innovative? Is there an innovative way to make something happen? So this concept of innovation, I think, is not only related to the success of a business, it's related to you, and it's also related to those who report to you, who are part of your team, both inside and outside the organization. So don't you have to make sure that you create a system that encourages innovation? It encourages you to innovate. It also encourages your employees and other members of your team to innovate. So let's take a look then at the second major topic. And the first major topic was this concept of what's innovation. Let's take a look at the second and final major topic. It's a short section of the book, although a very important section. The second major topic, approaches towards innovation. Approaches towards innovation. Your textbook mentions two things. I'll mention them. I'd like to add a third. In addition to this class, I also teach another class, management, with regard to, I guess it's Management 453, which is creativity and innovation in business. Creativity and innovation in business. So we talk about innovation in that class too. And I want to bring something from that to this class. I still think if you are a Penn State student, you probably want to take that class too. But this will at least lay a little bit of groundwork, a little bit of a foundation for you with regard to that. So let's start off with the first of the three approaches, one of the two that's mentioned in the book. And your book says that with regard to approaches to innovation, there's basically two. And there's two types that are related to two other types. So if you put these together and put it in a matrix, you're basically going to come up with four. Now I have a slide to show you with this, and then I'll talk about it. So let me bring up that slide. So what we see in that slide, what we see in this approach, the author says that there basically are two types of innovation: product innovation and process innovation. And your author then adds to that there are two focal points of innovation, the focus of innovation, the focuses, the foci of innovation. And there's two of those. One is improvement and one is new direction. Let's talk a little bit about both of those. Let's start off with regard to the types of innovation. Product innovation, that's coming up with a new product, a new appearance, new functionality with regard to a product, something that someone hasn't seen before. You come up with a new one, or you come up with something, an old one, and you tweak it and twist it and make it a little bit better. This is product innovation. The other is process innovation. In your organization, no doubt, you have various procedures that are followed. Sometimes they're formal, sometimes they're not, sometimes they're written, sometimes they're not. But there are probably various processes, procedures that you look at. So what we're looking at here with regard to innovation is we're looking at new ways to do things. The old process was we did A, B, and C. The new process is we're going to be doing A, B, and D. So we're changing the process. We're coming up with an innovative way to proceed. And sometimes it's adding or subtracting something to the old process. Sometimes it's tweaking what we were doing in the old process, but we're being innovative. Now, related to that, the author mentions, as I said, that there are two focal points, or the focus of innovation. One is improvement. You want to have an innovation that improves things. It upgrades what you already had. Let's improve. Whereas the other is something brand new, a new direction, a new product, a new market, a brand new procedure, etc., a new direction that we have. So if you take a look at that slide that I put up there, and it's talking about product and process and improvement innovation, let me give you the 4 examples that your book gives you that's mentioned in this slide that I gave to you. When we talk about product innovation, an example of focusing on improvement was all the different, or is in fact, all the different generations you have for the iPhone. The iPhone 9, the iPhone 5, the iPhone 11, all these different innovations. They're related to a product, and they're improving it. At least in the eyes of Apple, they're improving it. Still, with regard to this concept of product innovation, let's take a look at new direction. New direction. Go back a couple of years ago, there was no such thing as a self-driving car. So now you have, organizations out there that, have self-driving cars, etc. That was a new direction. You go back into the, 1980s, the 1960s, 1940s or whatever, the concept of having your car drive you as opposed to you driving your car, I mean, nobody ever thought about that. So new direction is, let's let the car drive. Let's have this, this self-driving car, a driverless vehicle that we have. Let's now flip to the other type of innovation, process. With regard to improvement, your book and your author talk about 3D printing. We've had printing before, but can't we improve the process? So all of a sudden, we're not just printing ink on paper. We're going to be printing actual things, new components to something, a new tool or whatever, something physical. So 3D printing is certainly an improvement from 2D printing, right? Another example with regard to process is, let's talk about new direction. How about the concept of panelized or modular home construction? You go back, again, probably, in the 60s and 70s, 80s maybe. Nobody thought about making homes that were, modular. We have a production line someplace, and in this production line, we make, 5 boxes that are going to be living rooms for homes, and 5 boxes that are going to be bedrooms for homes, and 5 boxes for bathrooms or whatever. And then eventually we ship them all off to 5 different locations and put them all together, assemble them. Now think about that. The process, we've turned building a home this way from individuals and a lot of labor intensive, a lot of time. We've now doing it on assembly line. It's less labor intensive, a lot more automation that we can add to it. It can be a lot faster, it can be cheaper because we're making a bunch of them, etc. on that. So we're seeing a fairly significant shift. And I just read an article actually the other day on this, that although modular homes, panelized homes, as your textbook refers to them, have been around for a while, nobody really started using them. But now that home prices are so high, and we have such a demand for new homes and such a small supply of homes available, both new homes being built as well as old homes that people move out of, they're thinking about going back, in fact some companies have, and really amping up with this idea of modular home construction. We can make a lot more homes, a lot faster, a lot cheaper, etc. Let's get them out there. If we have a huge demand for homes and a small supply, let's build that supply, let's start making these modular homes. So in a sense, this is a new direction. I mean, it used to be where we had, all the contractors coming out and they build your home, and it's going to take, 6 weeks, 3 months, 4 months or whatever, maybe longer, to build an individual home with all these people working on it, etc. High cost, high expense, and now we're going to go to making these modular homes on the assembly line. Now, arguably, the quality might go down. It might, depending on the quality controls that you have. The craftsmanship might go down. But certainly we're going to build a lot more and a lot faster, and hopefully we can get the quality there and the craftsmanship with regard to all the robots are making and everything else like that. So again, the first part here about new approaches is let's take a look at this idea of product and process and improvement, new direction. Where do you fall with regard to what you're doing or what you hope to do, either in your career or in a business that you might be working at or starting or running? Let's go, still on this concept of approaches or whatever. Let's go to something called an innovation system. An innovation system. Let me first tell you what it is. I have a slide for it, and I'll go over that. Think about this. If you want to have an organization that is innovative, if you think innovation is important, you think your organization should be innovative, you might want to install something in your organization to help encourage then improvements, to encourage innovation. So one of the things that your textbook talks about is this thing called an innovation system, which are supporting forces within your organization for innovations. So let's take a little look at that, but let me first pull up the slide for it. So let me take a look at this. Let me take a look at this. So let's talk about the system, the slide you just saw. First off, let me give you the author's definition, where they talk about this system. The author defines it as a coherent set of interdependent processes and structures. Can you tell an academic wrote that? I mean, it's a great definition, etc. But a coherent set of interdependent processes and structures that directs how the company searches for novel problems and solutions, brings together, synthesizes the ideas into business concepts, designs something, selects the various design that you have, which projects are going to be funded, and then goes ahead with it. So we're looking at kind of a system. So on that slide that you just saw, let's take a look at some of the components of a system that might help you become more innovative in your organization. Some of the things that they say you need in your system, and I agree with them. First, you need an innovation strategy. You want to be innovative. You want to plan ahead. You want to have a strategy of telling you not only where am I today, but where do I want to go? And that place of where we want to go to, this vision we have, it should be innovative. You're a dreamer. You're coming up with something new. And maybe the way to go from here to there is also innovative. And, built into this strategy, this strategic plan that you have. So the first thing they mention is you need an innovation strategy. The second, you need committed leadership. Whether it's just you or a team of people or whatever, you have to be committed to innovation, committed to doing things new. There are a lot of organizations, in fact, I would argue probably most organizations in the world, are very content doing things the way they're doing it. Why change? If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Okay, it works. And then, somebody comes along and says, oh, let's do it a different way. Everybody's up in arms. Oh my God, I can't believe it. I mean, think about you as a student in the classroom. Every day you go through class, and generally speaking, this is how you're going to do class. You sit in the same seat, the professor does the same thing to start it off and whatever, and then one day the professor comes in and changes it all up. In fact, it's a different professor, somebody else. They don't know how the other professor did things. They do things completely different. They move you around, they have you standing, they have you doing this, that, and the other. Now, maybe you like the new stuff. But what you'll find is in most cases, leadership is committed to doing it the same old way. If you bring back your professor who was absent today and this other person stepped in and tries it, the odds are your professor coming back today is still going to do it the way the professor did it before. Well, to be an innovative organization, you need leadership that is committed to innovation. We're not committed to doing things the way we always did it. We're committed to doing things better and better and better and better, which means we're committed to making changes. We're committed to innovating. Let's now take a look at the third component of that system they have. Third component is an innovative culture and climate. An innovative culture and climate. You know, the culture of an organization is far stronger than any individual running the organization. The climate where you work is far stronger than any individual. So if you have a culture where people come to work, we're always bored. We don't want to do anything new. Everything new is nothing works. It makes it more work for me, etc. If you have a culture like that, if you have a culture where you come up with a new idea and people slap you silly, how dare you? I mean, sit down and shut up. This is the way we do it here. You don't have a culture that's really fostering innovation. You don't have a climate in the business fostering innovation. Well, you might want it to be innovative, but if you don't have that proper, culture, that proper climate, odds are, no matter how much you want it to be innovative, it's not going to be. So you have to make sure that you have a culture, you have a climate there where people are enthusiastic about change, they want to do things better, they recognize that innovation is important. Maybe they have a hunger for it. You want to take a look at this concept of culture and climate. Let's take a look at the fourth component. And it's related, I think, to the culture and the climate. You want to have structures and processes that fit innovation. Structures and processes that fit innovation. Let me give you a great example of this. I've mentioned, I think, in some of my earlier lectures, and I certainly show it in class, there was a really, really good movie that was made, I don't know, it was probably in the late 80s, early 90s, called The Pirates of Silicon Valley. And it's a movie on how Steve Jobs started Apple and how Bill Gates started Microsoft. I think you could argue fairly well that both of them were innovative, probably more so Steve Jobs, but both of them were innovative. In that movie, there's a couple of scenes where we see Apple is competing with IBM. Steve Jobs was obsessed with IBM. The old dinosaur on the block, the old way of doing things, the IBM way of doing things. IBM was really structured, very bureaucratic structure, lots of layers, lots of policies and procedures. You couldn't change a light bulb without, following policies and procedures and doing 10 or whatever different things. At the same time, it was structured, IBM was structured in this bureaucratic way and had procedures that were bureaucratic. Innovative companies like Apple and Microsoft and whatever were coming along, and they were lean and mean and doing all sorts of brand new things. IBM wanted to keep up. But how do you keep up and develop all these innovative ideas when your structures and processes are based on old bureaucratic structures and processes? It doesn't work very well. And if you take a look, IBM, which was trying to get into the PC market back in the 80s, it ended up failing. And it ended up selling its PC division to a Chinese company, Lenovo. Well, why did it fail? Well, I think our author would say at least one of the reasons this PC division failed is the structure and processes didn't fit an innovative company and an innovative industry coming up with innovative products. So again, you want to make sure that your structure and processes fit. Let me give you the next of the components of the system. You need human capital that fits. You need to have the right people in the right place all the time for any type of business. But you need to have innovative people in the right place at the right time. And the last topic I'm going to talk about today, the topic that's not really in your textbook, but that I use in my other class, Management 453, Creativity and Innovation class, talks about a model that brings in this concept of having the right human capital, the right people in the right place at the right time. And think about this, as you recruit people, is there anything you can do as you're recruiting people to join your team, to join your company or whatever, to see if they're innovative? Are there any things you can ask them? Are there any things you can do? Can you look at their history? Can you get an idea? Because think about this, if you think it's important for you to be innovative and your company to be innovative, doesn't that mean you should recruit people who are innovative? So part of this is you want to get innovative people in the right places because they will help you out. Let's go to the sixth of the components. The sixth is related. You want to have human relations or HR policies and practices and procedures that fit this concept of innovation, that fit it. If you have HR policies and procedures that don't reward people for being innovative, don't reward people for trying something new, that instead of rewarding them maybe punishes them, that's not going to help. You want to have policies and procedures and practices that really help to promote this concept of innovation. And again, if you go back to most companies, most of the ones I've dealt with, the larger ones particularly, they have HR policies and procedures, etc. They're not innovative. Those policies and procedures, if anything, stymie innovation. You can't do anything about this, that, and the other. And if you, by goodness, if you have the audacity to think outside the box and to try something new, my goodness, you're in violation of 10 different rules. You're going to get warnings and violations and suspensions and firings. There you go. That's not very good. So another thing you want to do is you want to make sure you have good human relations or HR policies, practices, and procedures that fit an innovative company. And the final component that your author throws in is just the catch-all. It's other resources, other resources. And, I'll let you take a look in the book and get an idea of what other resources, and you might be able to think of some other resources you might need. But those 6 that I gave to you before we get to other, I think all of them are really important if you want to have an innovative company. These are some of the things you have to have in your system. Well, let me conclude by going to the third part of this second major aspect about approaches and whatever. This part is not in your textbook. This part comes from another book. It comes from another class. But I think it is extremely relevant and can help you as well with regard to the concept of innovation. There is an excellent book that was written by a lady by the name of Natalie Turner. And the book is called Yes, You Can Innovate. Yes, You Can Innovate. Before I go on, the title itself says something innovative. Yes, you can. Think about how much in life today you're told, no, you can't. From the time you're a little kid and you got to touch the stove or whatever, from the time you're a little kid and growing up, and as you get into school and college, and you can't do that. You can't do that. No, you can't. No, you can't. And isn't it nice that someone actually wrote a book saying, yes, you can? I think the name of the book is innovative. I think the book itself is innovative. Natalie mentions that in order to have an innovative organization, you have to recognize what she calls, and there's a buzz phrase for you, the 6 eyes of innovation. The 6 eyes of innovation. And she has a model related to it called the 6 eyes model. Let me pause my lecture here. Let me bring up the slide of the 6 eyes model, and then I'll come back. So let's talk about this model. If you take a look at it, what are the 6 eyes? The 6 eyes, and you see them on the model. Identify. You want to identify what your problems are, what your opportunities are, what solutions are, etc. You want to identify, perhaps new ideas. The first eye, identify. The second eye, ignite. Ignite. You want to ignite enthusiasm in this idea. You want not only yourself to look and say, this is great, let's go for it. You want to ignite others, etc. You want to be able to ignite. So the second eye, ignite. The third eye, investigate. Investigate. Before you jump into this pool and you start swimming with this idea that you want to ignite with people, let's test it out. Let's do some investigation. Let's see if it works. Let me give you a classic example of this. In my classes, in my innovation classes, 453 classes, one of the things the students do is they do a lab at the Happy Valley Launch Box. That's called the Snowflake Lab. And all the students are already in teams. So when they go down there, their teams sit at separate tables. And in the middle of the room, there are a couple of tables of some adults that are there. Each of the tables for the students is now a company. Each of the student teams owns a company. And their company is a snowflake company. They're going to produce snowflakes and sell them to those three adults that are sitting up in the front, the purchasers. Well, and the purchasers are at separate companies. They're not the same. So what the students are told is, you know how to cut paper snowflakes, right? Oh yeah, when you're a kid you did this, etc. And here's some templates for you as well. And on your table you have a couple of blank sheets of paper and a couple pairs of scissors or whatever. We want you to cut up snowflakes. You're going to manufacture snowflakes. And then we want you to come up. We want you to sell them to the various buyers that we have. And at the end of this, and they'll buy, snowflakes from you. And at the end of this, the company, the team that has made the most money from selling snowflakes wins. You get some extra credit or whatever on that. And it's all timed. You have a couple of rounds to do this. Each round is timed. The whole thing is timed. So we tell the students go. And what do the students do immediately? And they say, oh, here's some scissors, here's some set of paper. And you have maybe 5 people on the team, but you have two pairs of scissors and maybe 2 sheets of paper or something. So, a couple of kids pick them up and they start cutting away and paper's flying left and right. And then, sometimes those kids, but oftentimes the kids who weren't doing anything, here, give me your snowflakes. I'll go up and I'll try to sell them or whatever. So, they grab a couple of snowflakes, they run up and they get in line because other teams are doing the same. They have sellers up there trying to sell the snowflake. And they find out that the snowflake they made, the buyer doesn't want. So the hell with them, they go to another buyer. That buyer doesn't want it either. Go to another. That buyer doesn't. So they run back to the table. Oh my God, they didn't like any of our snowflakes. Well, geez, we used most of our paper. We don't have much left. Well, what did they say? Oh, geez, I can't remember. I think one of them wanted small snowflakes. Oh, what the hell small mean? I don't know. So they start cutting up small snowflakes. And next thing you know, they run up, here's some small snowflakes. Buyer doesn't like that either. Now, finally, the students start asking questions. Well, what do you want in your snowflake? Well, you want small. Well, what's small mean? And do you want color on it? Because we can buy some crayons. We can add color to it. Do you want it to be, what's the purpose? Why do you want it? So what they start to do is they start to investigate their market. They start to investigate what is wanted. They know what they have. They start to investigate what they can make, etc. And then as we go through in these rounds, before you know it, after they start doing investigation, they actually start selling snowflakes. Why? Because they found out what the buyers wanted. And they started making them, etc. So this next I that we just said, investigate's really important. That wonderful idea that you came up with, that you're all ignited and enthused about, all the snowflakes you cut and said, oh, these are wonderful. Before you really jump in and make 5,000 snowflakes and use up all your paper, let's go investigate. Is that what the market wants? The next I is the word invest. Once you've figured out, oh, okay, that's our snowflake. Now what you want to do is you want to get investors. Now when we're in business, we talk about investors. Oh, we want money. We have, buy stock or whatever. But investing is, you're looking for people to invest more than just money. For example, in a snowflake thing, there's no money. You want them to invest time, and effort, etc. You might want them to invest other resources. Maybe they'll help you network or whatever. Have you ever watched Shark Tank? One of the things that a lot of people go, and a couple sharks are saying, oh, I like your product, they start to see what shark can help them in which way. And, they try to seek an investment on more than just money. Hey, can you invest in, can you give me your contacts? Can you help me do this or whatever? So the next stage is invest, getting others, including, in fact, get yourself and get others to invest time in other things, money and other things, sweat equity and other things into your product. The next I, the fifth I of the 6, is now that I have investors, now that I, have investigated, I know what idea I want to go to, I'm ignited, etc., I've identified it, The next is implement. Let's start cutting up the right snowflakes. Let's start going out. Let's doing this thing. Whatever it is, this innovation, the new process, etc. Let's go out. Let's innovate. Let's do it. Because you can have the world's greatest idea in the world, but if you don't innovate it, what's it worth? I mean, think about this. On New Year's Eve, right, when lots of people are out partying and having a great time or whatever, it's not unusual for people. Maybe you came up with a New Year's Eve resolution. Next year, starting in an hour or whatever, next year, I'm going to exercise more. I'm going to eat better. I'm not going to lose my temper and all these other different things. So maybe for the first couple of days you try, you exercise more and eat better and you hold your temper. But by day 5, the hell with it. You're eating Snickers bars and you skip going to the gym because I got homework to do, and your roommate, that SOB, that person did this, that, and the other, so you get mad. So the next thing you know, most people with regard to their New Year's Eve resolutions don't implement them, at least not for long. Well, if you had a great idea but you didn't do anything with it, what's the idea worth? Well, I guess this might be worth a little bit that you thought about it. Maybe if you did it for a day or two, that's helpful. But doesn't the real value come from implementing and doing it? In business, the same thing. I've got this great idea for a new widget. If I just keep it up here, it's not really worth anything. I actually have to go out and make it and sell it, etc. Then it might be worth something. I might be making some money. So the next I is the I for implement. And the final I is the I for improve. You should never be happy. You should never be satisfied. You should never be content with where you are and who you are, etc. You should always want to do better. If you have that drive, I can do better, no matter how good I was today or how bad, tomorrow I can be better. If you have that idea, that concept, that drive, that you can do better, then you're going to improve. So the snowflakes I sold today, tomorrow, if I did the same exercise again, what would I do better? How would I do this differently? What would I do better? That pizza shop that I've owned, after I've got it up, I've been running. What can I do better? How can I make it better? The bar I just opened, the consulting firm I just put together, this new algorithm and technology I have. What can I do better? So after you've come up with this innovative idea and you've done all the I's, then the next thing you want to do is how am I going to improve it? For example, after you got done with high school, as you went to college, didn't you take some of the things you learned in high school so that you wouldn't make the same mistake in college? And after you got out of college, after, I guess many of you are still in college, after you get out of college and you start your first job, aren't you going to take some of the things that you learned in school and try to use them to be a better employee than you would have been otherwise? So this concept of improve. So again, identify, ignite, investigate, invest, implement, and improve are all important. But I also want to add one more thing. Take a look at our model. The model's circular, right? It's all these I's. What are they circling? What's in the middle of the model? It's not something beginning with an I. It's something beginning with a P. And it's the word purpose. The word purpose. And why she puts it there is she uses purpose so that all of your I's are anchored into it, are related to it, should look back to it, because as you identify and ignite and invest and implement all of our stuff, don't lose track of your purpose. Keep your purpose in mind. Have any of you gone to a meeting and the purpose of the meeting was X, and shortly after you got to the meeting, people went off on tangents and they're talking about this and that and whatever. The meeting goes on for hours. Nothing really gets accomplished at the end. You might rush through to try to do things like that. Why? Because the people running the meeting lost sight of their purpose. We are meeting today to discuss what and why were we going to do that? The same goes for your ideas and your innovation, etc. Don't lose track of your purpose. If you keep purpose in mind, the odds are the system that you put together, this procedure, this innovation procedure you put together, will be more, not only more innovative, it'll be more effective and more efficient and hopefully more productive, bring you more money, more other satisfaction, whatever, more value, etc. that you have. Well, that finishes up my lecture on this concept of innovation. If you have not taken a class in innovation, I highly recommend that you do. I want you to think about this. Your generation, more so than the prior generation, more so your generation, most of your generation Z, your generation, more so than Generation Y, which is millennials, is in a world requiring more innovation. The millennials world required more innovation than the generation before, the Gen X people. And their world required more innovation than the generation before that, the baby boomers, etc. Your generation and the generations that follow you are getting into a world where innovation is required more and more and more. If you want to be successful both with your own life, your career, and your business, whether it's a business you work for, manage, lead, or a business you own, if you want to find success as we go forward, today certainly, but definitely more so in the future, you have to be innovative. Your organization has to be innovative. This concept of innovation is one of the keys to your success. I hope you enjoyed the lecture today. I hope I taught you some things, gave you some perspectives or whatever that might help you as you proceed and hopefully become more innovative and hopefully become more successful. Thank you so much for your time. If you have any questions, let me know. I'll talk to you folks later. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.